So the Hal Jordan of the DC universe is going to be around 60 years old. This is insane. He's around double Superman's age, a character that he's typically around the same age as in the comics. This got me thinking, this is going to be an atypical DC universe, one where the ages of the characters in the comics and the timeline of when they debut won't necessarily dictate when they will in this world. There are other examples, like Jaime Reyes is a bit older than he usually is, Hawkgirl is a bit younger, and Batman is way more experienced like he was in the DCU compared to Superman. In this video, I want to look at the heroes of the DCU and determine what their ages will and should be in this universe. To simplify things, I'll be looking at their ages by the end of 2025, like December 31st, and then also how old they will be at the end of the chapter, which I'm predicting will be in the year 2030. Also, specifically, I'm focusing on the Justice League. To start, let's go over everybody we know, which for a lot of them will be based on the ages of the actors, but a few of them we do know the ages of. Going from oldest to youngest, we start with Hal Jordan. Kyle Chandler was born in 1965, interestingly only 6 years after Hal Jordan debuted as a character. If all we have to go off of are the actors' ages, what I'll be doing is taking their exact age as of the end of this year, but minus 1 year since they typically film something a year before it releases. Assuming Hal is the same age as Kyle but minus a year, he'd be 59 by the end of 2025 and then 64 in 2030, likely either 59 or 60 years old when Lanterns releases. Guy Gardner is played by Nathan Fillion, who was born in 1971. Nathan could definitely pass as a bit younger, as young as maybe early 40s, but I think it could be assumed that he is his actor's age because of how Guy's origin connects directly to Hal's, being the Ring's second choice who would have been chosen had he just been a bit closer to Abin Sur. This means that Guy can't really be that much younger, otherwise he'd likely be too young to be chosen at the same time as Hal. They might not adapt that because they're obviously changing things, but I do think the actors' ages are very telling. This means Guy is 53 now and will be 58 in 2030. Mr. Terrific is played by Eddie Gathegi, who was born in 1979, making him currently, and by the end of this year, 46. There's nothing else to go off of, so let's assume that Mr. Terrific is a year younger, so currently 45 and then 50 by 2030. Peacemaker is a bit younger than his actor, at least in the DCU, which could mean that other characters will be younger as well, which would make sense since a lot of these actors do look younger than they are, but we have no way of knowing that. John Cena was born in 1977, but as mentioned in season 1, Christopher Smith was born in 1982, making him 43 and will be 48 in 2030. Metamorpho is played by Anthony Kerrigan, who was born in 1983, making him 42 years old. I think he could definitely play younger, and I do think he will, but since there's nothing else to go off of, let's stick to that 42 for now, and 47 by 2030. Vigilante is also a bit younger than his actor. Freddie Stroma was born in 1987, but Adrian Chase was born in 1991, at least in the DCU, making him 34 now and 39 in 2030. Only then comes Superman, meaning at the very least, the heroes Hal Jordan, Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, Peacemaker, and Vigilante are older than him. Some are significantly older. Superman was confirmed by James Gunn to be the same age as David Corenswet. David will be 32 when Superman releases, meaning the character will be the same age that he was a year prior, or at least that's what I'm assuming. 31 by the end of this year. By 2030, he'll be 36 years old, just because David Corenswet was 31 when this was filmed. Jon Stewart is played by Aaron Pierre, who was born in 1994. He'll be 31 by the end of this year, meaning the character should be 30 and then 35 as of 2030. Judo Master is a bit of a weird one. All we have to go off of is the actor's age, but even that isn't really clear. It seems like Nutley was born in either 1997 or 1998. Let's say the character was born in 1998, making the character 27 and will be 32 in 2030. Jaime Reyes was mentioned to be 22 years old in Blue Beetle, which took place in 2023. 2003. Assuming that part is canon, Jaime was born in 2001. He's currently 24, or will be by the end of the year, and will be 29 in 2030. That fits the exact age of Zola Maridueña, which means whenever he films, he's playing somebody a year older than himself. That also works. Hawkgirl is played by Isabella Merced, who was also born in 2001, and since there's nothing else to go off of, this means Kendra was born in 2002, is currently 23, and will be 28 in 2030. And finally, the youngest of of the already cast heroes would then be Supergirl, but there are two possible ages. Millie Alcock was born in 2000, but will certainly play younger as she's starring in a mostly direct adaptation of a story in which Kara is 21, and that age is actually important to the story. In Woman of Tomorrow, Kara goes to a red sun planet in order to get drunk on her 21st birthday, because that is the age where it becomes legal in the United States. They might change that to 18 for international appeal because that's the only country where that's true, and honestly, I would prefer that. If she's 21 in Woman of Tomorrow, which comes out in 2026, then she's currently 20 years old, 11 years younger than Superman. That's fine, but I'd actually prefer a slightly larger age gap and would prefer if she was 18 in Woman of Tomorrow, 17 right now, and 22 in 2030. What's more likely, however, is that Kara is going to be 20 now and then 25 in 2030. Her year of birth, meanwhile, would be 1980, 13 years before Kal-El, making her chronologically 45, but biologically 20 years old. Alright, so that's every cast character, but what about everyone else? Well, with those ages established, I'll be going over the main members of the Justice League and determine their ages. Depending on how well this video goes, I'll get to the other characters like maybe the Teen Titans, the Bat Family, and others in subsequent videos. Wonder Woman is a bit of an easy one, or rather, she can be. In the comics, Diana is either in her 20s when she leaves Paradise Island, or is thousands of years old. Live-action adaptations have made her thousands of years old, and going down that route would certainly make my job easier, as the character's age then becomes irrelevant. Honestly though, it would make more sense for the live-action version specifically to make her age normally, considering they are the ones bound to an actual aging actress. I don't think they can go down that route though. There was a Wonder Woman villain who appeared in a scene in Creature Commandos that took place in the 2000s, suggesting that she was around back then, so if they do go down the normally aging route, she'd in the present day be in her late 30s at the very youngest, maybe even in her 40s, which is probably not where they should start off with Diana. So Diana, I think, should be thousands of years old, meaning her age is practically ageless. Batman is a bit more complicated. Gunn confirmed he won't be casting a middle-aged actor, meaning he'll be around 45 years old, but at the same time, scenes in Creature Commandos involving Dr. Phosphorus suggest that Batman has been around as of 2023 for at least 15 years, and that's assuming Dr. Phosphorus was an early villain, which would be atypical considering he's like one of Batman's most powerful enemies. But in general, this is a very atypical DC universe, so sure. So let's say Batman debuted in 2008, which is apparently where those Dr. Phosphorus scenes take place. Batman's debut in the comics was canonically at 26. They made it 24 in the Absolute Universe and seemingly also in the DCU. So let's make him as young as possible. He was 24 in 2008, meaning he was born in 1984 and would currently be 41 years old. You can absolutely fit the entire Bat family into that 15-year timeline. Hell, it'll probably be at least a 20-year timeline as of the release of The Brave and the Bold when they finally get around to introducing Damian. Barry Allen is a character I debut older than his previous live-action adaptations, and in fact, I'd consider even making him close in age to Hal Jordan. Maybe Hal, Barry, and a few others I'll get to were the heroes of the previous generation, and now there are heroes who are taking over. For Hal, it's Jon Stewart. For Barry, it's Wally West. Now, Wally is in a bit of a weird situation because I literally just said that the ages of the characters in the DC universe won't necessarily dictate the ages here, but for Wally, I think it kind of needs to. I think he absolutely needs to be younger than Superman because it'd be really weird if he wasn't, but also around the same age as Nightwing because they're best friends in the comics, and that's something that they should keep. And then, considering how long the Batman timeline is, Nightwing can't really be all that young either. So there's really only a few ages that these characters could be. I'd make Wally West a currently way too old for the name Kid Flash, born in 2002, currently 23 and 28 by 2030. By then, he'd already be the Flash. Barry, meanwhile, should be old enough to be a father figure to Wally, but also old enough to be close enough in age to Hal Jordan to have a friendship with him. Let's say Barry was born in 1975 and is either currently 50 years old, or maybe would have been 50 had he not already died in his mid to late 40s. Either way, he would be older than Barry Allen typically is, and a part of a previous generation, one that I'm calling the Silver Age of the DCU. Similarly, I'd also put Green Arrow in the Silver Age. I think it'd be a huge shame if, due to Hal's advanced age, the DCU Hal and Oliver never had a friendship at all. I'd make Oliver just a year older than Barry, so born in 1974, currently 51, and will be 56 by 2030. The younger Arrow generation would include Roy Harper in his mid-20s, and maybe Connor Hawke in his late 20s, both fully Oliver's children, although one of them is adopted and the other one wasn't raised by him at all. Black Canary, meanwhile, would be a lot younger than Oliver, which is actually true to the comics. Let's say the original Black Canary debuted at 18 years old in 1942, just to make her as young as possible, and then became a member of the JSA. Decades later, maybe thanks to her metagene, she'd be able to get pregnant in her late 50s, giving birth to the second Black Canary in 1985. I do this to keep the entire Black Canary comic canon intact, the original being a JSA member and her daughter being the Canary of the present. Now, Dinah would be 40 and then 45 by 2030. Alongside Hal, Barry, and Oliver, I'd also add Aquaman to the Silver Age, but also the youngest of them, so as to not need to give him a fully grown child. Let's say he was born in 1978, became Aquaman at like 20 in 1998, and is now 47 years old. Adding to that, he'd have a kid or two currently under 10, who could then become heroes themselves, but eventually. By 2030, he'd be 52 years old. An easy addition to that age of heroes would be Ray Palmer, aka the Atom, who I assume won't be a currently active hero. I think if they have an Atom in the present, it's more likely to be Ryan Choi. Let's make Ray the same age as Hal, so 59 now, 64 in 2030, and then Ryan Choi would be in his mid-20s. Let's say 25 now, meaning he was born in the year 2000 and will be 30 in 2030. Martian Manhunter is a pretty easy one. He's like 200 plus, his age doesn't really matter, but he definitely should feel like, if he was human, he'd be middle-aged. Just so it doesn't end up being weird, Hawkman shouldn't be that much older than Hawkgirl, but also definitely shouldn't be younger. A young Hawkman has never been a thing, and Hawkgirl is young enough. I'd make Hawkman 30 right now, meaning he was born in 1995 and will be 35 in 2030, only then becoming the age that the DCU Hawkman was in his first and only appearance. Hi there, if you made it this far into the video, you probably enjoy my videos enough that you should subscribe, so go do that down there. Captain Marvel, or Shazam, is a character I think they'll completely skip over for the first chapter, seeing as how much of a failure that second movie was. More so than me thinking they'll do this, I kind of want them to. Because of this, and because Shazam is already typically a child, that would mean that Billy could have been born as late as like 2020 and is now 5, he'd be 10 in 2030, and likely a young teenager when he finally does debut. For Plastic Man's age, I'm honestly going entirely off of the actor who is most commonly fan cast and would be perfect, Ben Schwartz. Ben is currently 43, but can probably pass as younger. That said, Plastic Man being in his 40s fits pretty well. His origin involves him being a career criminal before he then gets powers and turns good. He also has a teenage son who inherited his powers, although maybe they'll not adapt them. Either way, I'm going off of Ben Schwartz's age. He'll be 44 by the end of this year, meaning Plastic Man should be 43, and then 48 by 2030. The Elongated Man, meanwhile, should be around the same age. I think it'd be kind of funny if there's two Stretchy guys around the same age as each other. One is way more powerful, but one is also way more mature. Ralph was born in 1980, is currently 45, and will be 50 in 2030. If everything regarding Ted Kord from the Blue Beetle movie remains canon, then there is a lot to go on. He has a daughter in her 20s, and the director wanted to cast the currently 49-year-old Jason Sudeikis, an age that makes sense for having an adult child. So let's stick to that. Since Jason will be 50 by the end of this year, Ted Kord should be 49 and will be 54 in 2030, and could have been a part of the Silver Age of Heroes. That age makes Booster Gold a tad more complicated. Booster should be close in age to Ted for the sake of their friendship, but he also should definitely not be as old as Ted, seeing as, unlike Ted, he is the focus of his upcoming franchise. In his original origin, he was at most a few years away from a failed football career when he became Booster Gold, but that part I think is not necessary. I think it might work even better if they emphasize his failure by making him even older. Based on this, I'd make him 40 years old when his show comes out, likely in 2027, making him 38 now and around 10 years younger than Ted Kord. He will be 43 in 2030. Vixen should be in the Superman era of heroes. Let's say she was born in 1997, is currently 28, and will be 33 in 2030. This is based off of absolutely nothing, aside from her being in the Superman era of of Heroes, but also older than the original Teen Titans, I think this works. Captain Atom was a captain in the military when he became what he is. The average age of a captain in the US Air Force is 27, putting him in the Superman era of heroes. That said, he feels like the type of character who has already debuted, feeling like he fits pretty well into the pre-Superman era of this universe, like right before Superman showed up, when the Justice League seems to be commercialized, maybe abiding more to the military. So let's say that's what they did here. He became Captain Atom at 27, but that was back in 2015. He's now 37 and will be 42 by 2030. Swamp Thing's age kind of doesn't matter either. Like, even in his origin, Alec could be anywhere from his mid-20s to like 60 years old, but also maybe his movie will take place in like the 1940s or something, and Swamp Thing's just been around since then, and that would make sense. So honestly, for Swamp Thing, I won't go into it. The other members of Justice League Dark, however, they could be important. If there's any character in the DC universe that I would not mind, and in fact I would prefer they bring over an actor from a different universe back into the DCU in the vein of J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, it'd be John Constantine, with Matt Ryan having perfected the role and still not too old to return, even in a few years. Matt Ryan is 43 now, so Constantine would be 42 now, 47 in 2030, and maybe even older when he debuts, but I think John Constantine is the type of character who could still just do the same thing he's been doing the entire time, even into his 50s. Zatanna, however, would skew a lot younger, being a prime candidate for being a part of the Superman generation of heroes. Let's say she's 30 years old, so she was born in 1995 and will be 35 in 2030. Deadman's age, as of being Deadman, really doesn't matter, and honestly the age he was when he died, it really doesn't matter either, because like Swamp Thing, it could have happened in any decade and maybe he's just roaming around. The same goes for Etrigan, although I think Jason Blood, who is immortal, should be biologically in his 20s, the most likely age for a knight to be in medieval times, which is when he gained immortality. Etrigan, however, is apparently billions of years old, so obviously it doesn't matter. The same goes for Orion, Mr. Miracle, and Big Barda, who are all immortal as well, but biologically they should all probably seem like they're in their 30s, maybe 40s. Red Tornado is a robot, so his age would just depend on when he was created, but I think he fits really well within the Silver Age of the DC Universe. In this case, that would maybe be the early 2000s or late 90s, and that would make sense because this universe has always had robots. There was G.I. Robot in the 40s, the Metal Men in the 60s, and then let's say Red Tornado debuted in 1999, making him technically 26 years old, and then 31 in the year 2030, although physically he never changes. There are obviously a lot more characters to go over, but I had to cut it off at some point. If you want to know about other Justice Leaguers who I didn't go over, then comment them in the comment section and I'll give my opinion. To recap, the ages of the members of the Justice League of the DCU as of the end of 2025 would be: Swamp Thing and Deadman's ages don't matter. Etrigan, Orion, Mr. Miracle, and Big Barda are untold eons old, while Jason Blood and Wonder Woman are thousands of years old. Martian Manhunter is 200 plus, Ray Palmer and Hal Jordan are in their very late 50s, Guy Gardner in his mid-50s, Green Arrow and Barry Allen in their early 50s, Aquaman in his late 40s, Mr. Terrific and Elongated Man in their mid-40s, John Constantine, Plastic Man, Peacemaker, Black Canary, and Batman in their early 40s, Captain Atom in his late 30s, Vigilante in his mid-30s, Superman, John Stewart, Hawkman, and Zatanna in their early 30s, Vixen, Connor Hawk, and Juno Master in their late 20s, Red Tornado, Ryan Choi, and Roy Harper in their mid-20s, Blue Beetle, Hawkgirl, Wally West, and Supergirl in their early 20s, and then there's like Billy Batson, who is a child. That missing age bracket is for the teenagers of the Teen Titans and the Bat Family, which could be other videos. There's also the age bracket of above 60 but below 200, which would be reserved for the Justice Society of America. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Make sure to watch this video here next, and thanks so much for watching.